has started.
All right, everybody, here's Jason. I'm going to mute myself, but I'll be in the background. Oh, I think you're muted, Jason.
Thanks, Patricia.
There we go.
No problem. Hey, welcome to What's All the Hype? Challenges of being a real estate agent. How to avoid the pitfalls of the challenges of being a real estate agent. So I'm glad you guys are here today to listen to this because it's really kind of a pet peeve of mine. I get a lot of people talk to me about certain things when they get into this industry, and I think this is a good subject matter for everyone. Even some of the seasoned veterans could use a few pointers here and there. So we'll go over some of these today, and hopefully they'll be helpful. And then I'll send you a written version of this as well. First, I'm going to start off with a joke. The joke is a guy falls into a hole in the sidewalk. I don't know if you've all heard this one, but he falls into a hole in the sidewalk, and he can't get out. And so he sees his let's think it was his priest go by, and looks up and says to his priest, "Help me out of the hole." And the priest says a prayer, hopes him well, and moves on. Sees his doctor. Doctor sees us, "Hey, doc, help me out, help me out." Doc writes him a prescription, throws it down the hole, moves on. Then he sees one of his old friends from high school go by. And he says, "Hey, John, I'm down this hole." He says, "It's crazy down here. I don't have a way out, can you help me?" So John looks down, jumps in the hole with him. And the guy goes, "Dude," he says, "what are you doing?" He says, "Don't worry, I've been here before. I'll show you the way out." So the reason I tell that joke is because sometimes when you listen to some of these classes, it's because we've been there before. And we've gone through some of these challenges that we're going to discuss today. I've been through them before. I suffer from them all the time, but I always have a way out. And that's why it's important to kind of take notes and listen. So we'll just get started right now. If you have any questions while I'm going there, just type them in and Patricia will take care of it. Okay, first challenge is most people get into real estate with an expectation of having lots of time, lots of extra time. And the industry gives you a promise of making your own schedule. There's kind of a false image of real estate agents and brokers that we get up when we want, we bum around all day long, and by the end of the day, basically we're just stacking our cash, ones, tens, fives, hundreds, in bundles. And that's just not the case. If you want a lot of time off, this isn't necessarily the industry for you. You got to have two jobs if you want a lot of time off. This requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of time from marketing. It requires a lot of time of learning, constantly re-educating yourself. So it's really, really important that you know that most successful real estate agents work hours that would drive most people crazy, would most drive people nuts. It would drive most people that they're either married to or involved with, their family, crazy. The hours that we keep, things that we do are constant. Now, is it important to schedule these times and what to do? Well, that's the challenge and what to do about it. So, how do we avoid working all the time? I think you should prepare yourself if you're just getting into this industry for long days and hard work. I think, even working long hours doesn't even begin to guarantee that you'll be successful. You have to be doing the right things when you have the time that you have. So I think when we look at a lot of the ongoing theories of how do you schedule your day, time blocking gets a lot of attention. I think you need to give up the need for free time early in your career. You're not entitled to the free time that, let's say, a teacher is. A teacher fires up, they're done by what? The end of June. Some people are done by the end of May, and then they have the rest of the summer. They rent an RV and they're out having summer all summer long and enjoy themselves, and then they're back September 1. You work all the time. And I think if you give up the need for free time early in your career, you'll find out that you'll be able to figure out what times work for you consistently. And that doesn't mean you can't take time for yourself every day. You need to do that. But I think that the challenge is to get in a schedule that works for you best. I mean, this business is about identity. You have to know yourself very well. You have your own mission statement of who you are. It'd be easier to do this job, easier to manage your time. Some people like to block time on their calendars. Some people have a set schedule. They know that they're going to be at work every day at 8 o'clock. Whatever works for you in your time management, just know that you're going to spend a lot of time learning, especially early on. And over time, you're going to be educating yourself. There's one thing about this business is for sure, the time that you take to educate yourself will definitely be to your advantage, because it's always changing, always evolving. It's very fluid, and that's really part of the time that you spend educating yourself at night, reading, taking classes, listening to classes like this. So make a schedule focused around prospecting and business building. That is what your schedule should entail, and you should be doing business building and prospecting a minimum of 4 hours a day. I mean, you can't do it 8 hours a day. You'd burn out. But if you're doing it 4 to 5 hours a day of prospecting and building business, getting referrals, having those coffees and those beers with your sphere of influence, you're going to do a lot better job, being more successful. Just get ready at the end of the day. You realize you work 12-hour days and you're going home to listen to a podcast on real estate challenges, just like today. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two, most people expect to be making a lot of money when they get into real estate. Now, this one's a good one, because this goes back to my stacking cash analogy. I've seen a lot of posts on social media about it, and thanks to TV shows and movies depicting real estate agents as like the all-time big ballers. They think that they'll be making a ton of money, and the last real estate agent they probably saw, especially if you're getting into it, the one driving the BMW, the Range Rover, the person, looks like $1 million, and they're just stacking cash left and right. What they didn't see was that the car was leased, and you don't realize how much work goes into image of a real estate agent, and we all work to be successful. And I think when there are a lot of advantages to this job, making money, the potential for making money is fantastic. But you don't make any money if you don't sell any homes. And that goes back to your scheduling and your prospecting. It's huge. If you don't sell any homes, you're not making any money. Even if you are busy giving referrals to other people across the United States in a referral group and what have you, if you're not selling homes yourself, you're not going to make any money. That's just bottom line. And don't get me wrong, there can be great advantages here, obviously, to, like, say, someone leasing a car and so forth. What I'm saying is that the image that which you see, there's a lot of hard work that goes into someone who's making all that money, someone who's trying to make all that money. And, you have to spend time figuring out where you're going to prospect from so that you can start to sell homes. Because if you're not selling homes, you're not going to make any money. And most real estate agents sell very few homes each year. I think the average is like 6. Now, if your price point's $1.5 million and your average commission's $30,000 and you're selling, 6 homes, and you are good with that kind of income, fine. But if you really want to make some money in this business, you've got to get to work, and you've got to, um, let's just say, if you think that 6 homes isn't too bad, um, most agents make about $10,000 per commission. That's nationwide. Now, in local areas like Southern California, that's different. Price points are larger. So uh, you got to want to basically set a goal that's bigger than you've ever set before, so that you can work harder to make the kind of money you're looking in this business. Um, your proper expectations, though, need to be set when you first start out. Huge, huge. If you get into the thought that you'll be a millionaire overnight, you're setting yourself up for a rude awakening. It's just not something that's going to happen. I think real estate's a long-term game, and to be in it a long time, you've got to set the expectation that you're going to learn and become a better agent or broker each year you're in this game, and each year that you make more connections and ask for more referrals. It just gets a lot better, but you got to be working 4 to 5 hours a day, building your business, prospecting. It's really, really important, because I think you end up being in a position where, you didn't lease your car the first year. Maybe the first year you just drove the same car that you have, the one you own, and you didn't have a lot of extra expenses, and you didn't spend a lot of extra money doing things that were less frivolous and more driven to get you more business. Because if you were to go out and lease a real expensive car and spend all the money on clothes and look the part, get the license plate frame, the keychain, the sticker, take all the classes and not sell one home, what have you done? You've just really pretty much spent money that you had, that money that you earned. So really, really important to understand that the years of hard work and determination are what made a successful real estate agent, and not just an overnight success. Not that it hasn't happened, not that someone hasn't gotten into the business and had a huge deal, but where are they going to be in 5 years? Now, where are you in 5 years? Can you stay in this business long enough to be in it a long time and call it a career? That's what you're looking for. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think that they can get in. I think a lot of people look at their sphere of influences and the people they're around, and sometimes look at it and say, oh, I can make money. I've got enough connections here that I could, ask for some referrals and maybe, 6 deals a year. How hard could that be? Well, it's harder than it looks. And to be in it for, years on end, you have to work diligently. So I think that making a lot of money is possible, but it's a long-term game. So prepare yourself accordingly, and don't spend all your money at one time, because you don't know when your next deal is coming. And on the other flip side of that, sometimes there's an old saying that one of my old mentors used, and it was, we had a really good year last month. Because sometimes all of your hard work happens in a 30-day period. You'd be surprised. And they all close at one time, and you're just not quite sure how that happened, but it did. So anyway, that's challenge 2. Challenge number 3. This one's a hard one for people to understand. You don't keep all your commission. And I'm not talking about taxes. Well, not all about taxes. In challenge 2, we talked about many people have an impression that commissions go fully into the agent's bank account. So the challenge here is you're running a business. So when you have to buy groceries and store manager doesn't clear out the tills over every night, oh, I have this one down, and fill his pockets with revenue either. I mean, it's not like that money goes right to him. In real estate, you're running a business like any other business, and revenue and net income are very different numbers. So your commission's gross dollars, right? So you make a gross commission of $20,000, or let's just say that's the number that you would use for your gross. So you think, 20 times 4, I make $80,000. Well, that's the gross number. That's not the number you take home. And it's really important that you get that through your head, that you talk gross numbers. So you talk gross commissions. So if I'm making 2.5% on a deal, then that's what I'm bringing home. No, that's the gross commission. That's the dollars in the door. And I think that's really important to understand the difference between that and the net. So You've got, let's just say MLS dues are $1,500 a year. Your operating expenses could be 20 grand a year. Your marketing expenses could be 20 grand a year. And your taxes on the money that you make could be 15 to 20,000. So all the money that you make doesn't go to you. It goes to taxes, the brokerage, MLS dues, education, signs, insurance. And then during deals, I mean, these are just some of the main categories. So you got brokerages, MLS dues, operating expenses, marketing expenses, and taxes. The list could go on though. I mean, there's a lot more expenses than just that, but the big thing to note here is that if an agent makes 100 grand a year, probably keeping about 30,000, 30% of that money, maybe 40. So you got to be realistic. I mean, if you could survive on 30% of 100 grand, I mean, that's kind of what happens. You've got expenses. Some people put it on credit cards and they don't really see the true expenses, but it's a business. You have to bring in revenue. When you discuss commissions with the consumer, they can, well, they think that you're getting $10,000 for the commission and that you're getting overpaid. And it really, truly isn't that way, and you have to be able to explain it to them. So the part that goes into your account sometimes is best left to the 30%. I always use kind of a deal where if, let's say, I'm making 3%, I whip out my business cards and pull out the 3%, and I say one goes to the brokerage, one goes to the IRS, and the other third goes to me. And I think that's a good breakdown of understanding how that works, because all that money isn't yours. So if you think it's yours, by the time you get your check, you may have spent more than you've made, and that's a problem as well. So what do you do about it? Make a business plan. Bear in mind that you're running a business just like any other company out there. Drop the mindset that you'll be keeping all of your commissions, because if you do try and keep the majority of what you make, you run yourself out of business when a consumer selects an agent that provides way more service. So on the other side of the coin, keep expenses at bay. Don't spend frivolously. Look at the return on investments for your purchases. So when you look back to the leased car, right? Oh, I got a lease, it's $400 a month. I'm driving the BMW. I look like I'm really doing it. And all of a sudden, the $400 a month comes up and you haven't closed the deal and you're running out of savings because it's been a year and a half and you haven't closed one transaction. And you've just spent $4,800 on a lease for the first year. So you've got to really run it like a business. I think you can keep it simple. I don't think you have to, out of the gate, run out there and have everything, scheduled like a business. You don't have to hire an accountant to do your books right away. You can do this all by yourself. But if you live with the mantra of, less debt, be debt free, and own your car, and don't go out to all the expensive dinners and parties all the time, keep your overhead low while you're learning this business, you'll be okay. You start spending money wildly and frivolously, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So to make sure that you do that, make a business plan and see realistically where you're going to be. And you can get a coach to help you with that, a mentor, something along those lines. So keep that in mind. Challenge number 4, people will not just start calling you and hiring you to sell their house. So as a new real estate agent, you might think that once you get on a website, a social media, that leads just kind of start pouring in and you'll be moving and making deals before you know it. Really, you will be working long hours to prospect for new business. Just because you get a business card, your website up, social media posts, doesn't mean that leads are just going to start pouring in. And if they do, what kind of leads are you getting? I mean, there's all sorts of different algorithms and statistics to tell you what kind of leads you're going to be getting just through social media and through websites and so forth. I think social media has it has a lot better performance these days, but it's also changing all the time. The way you do it, the way you advertise, how you interact. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that. So depending on who you are and how you work, really depends on the choices you're going to make for marketing. And I can tell you that, your people that you know best won't always use you to sell a house. And you won't know why unless you ask them. So a lot of my mentees ask, I'm really uncomfortable talking to people about the fact that I got into real estate, and I don't want to be too pushy, and I don't want to be this, and I don't want to be that, because of the fears that they have about making feel people uncomfortable about selling real estate. What I can tell you is that if you don't start asking people for the business, you'll never get it. You'll never, ever get it. And it's really, really important that you understand that just putting your name out there on a website, just putting your name in social media is going to get you business. It's just not. I mean, that's not how it works. You have to go out and ask for the business. The $1 Million Real Estate Agent is a great book. There's so much knowledge in there. You have to get in there and choose the things that you would like to use that meet who you are the best, because you've got to pick a way to go get business. And it's not just by hoping that somebody will call you because now you have a website and they have your business card. You have to ask for the business. If this business were easy like that, everybody'd be doing it and everybody'd be killing it. Now, I don't know what the statistics are about how many high producers you have in a certain area or a certain office, but, I always believe in the 80-20 rule that, 80% of the business is being done by 20% of the people. And those 20% are working for themselves, and they work a lot of hours. They have a business plan. They've got a system in place that works for them. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be some sort of system, some mechanized system that you use to generate business. And sometimes you find that certain things don't work. You move on to the next. You try others. But just setting yourself up and putting a sign in the window is not going to get people through the door. And that's important to understand. And it's a big, huge challenge. So the challenge is also a huge positive, though. That's the funny part. It's kind of ironic, right? The fact that people won't easily be calling you all the time mean that those that are willing to work hard, there's more business for you, right? So if you're in a room full of people and you were talking to people and there was 3 agents in the room and you were the only one that had the gumption to go up to people and say, hey, I'm Jason DuFault. I help people invest and sell real estate. Here's my card. Are you interested in selling real estate or investing anytime soon? If you're that person and you can go up to people like that and talk to them, you're the person in the room that's going to get the business. Hands down, you're going to get the business. And that creates opportunity for you. But you have to be able to do that. Because if it were that easy, like I said, everybody'd be doing it, right? Everyone would sign up. I mean, I've known many people that have gotten into this business that thought that their group of people that they are with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis without work and asking for the business would actually generate sales. And they came to the conclusion that the people that they were around, one, wasn't big enough because they weren't getting any business. 2, they weren't the right people. The business that they wanted didn't exist in that group. They thought it did, but it didn't. And that they didn't do a good enough job asking for the business. So if you dedicate yourself to prospecting and hustling in this job, people will start calling you. People will start understanding what you do. They'll start calling you for information. Hey, I got a question about something. Well, how can I help you? They'll call you not to sell their place, but they have a question. It's up to you to figure out if they're asking buying or selling questions. Um, Very, very important. And I think there'll be more business for you because a lot of agents just sit back and hope that it happens. They really do. Some people look the part too. Some people look like the $1 million part, the car, the suit, the casual clothes, whatever your vision of a perfect real estate agent is. They look that part and you see them. They're not doing any business. Why? Because they think that it's going to come to them, but they look the part. So once you get everything set up, you feel like you've done your job, especially if you're new and you're just starting out. You get in the office, you get your website, you get your email, you get your business cards, you get your signs, you take the classes, you talk to people in the office, and you get all set up, ready to go. And you think, okay, I've done my job. In fact, I'm taking another class, and I'm on chapter 3 of the one thing, and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Nope, you're just getting started. So you got to migrate to, I finished getting my business ready to handle business. Now I've got to go out and get it. So very, very important challenge to overcome because it just doesn't come in the door. Make sense so far? Any questions so far? Pretty boring so far?
No questions so far.
Oh, all right. All right. Challenge 5. It is rejection. Rejection. So a lot of people in this business are challenged on the rejection portion of this business. It happens every day in this business, and you have to get over it. If you aren't getting rejection every day, then you're probably not prospecting. If you've got a database, and let's say you're using an email campaign, if you're not getting people to get you to remove them from your list on a daily basis or a monthly basis, let's say, you're not doing enough prospecting. You really need to learn that this is all about marketing your business to as many people as you can, and there will be people that turn you down all the time. My coach always tells me, I love you if you do, I love you if you don't. It's okay. But I need to know if I can help you sell or invest in real estate anytime soon. And it's really important to me because that's what I do for a living. And once you get involved with me, you'll understand what I can do for you and how successful you can be at making that choice and so on and so forth. But you have to run the risk of being told no. I have a story of a client of mine. It was great. She was fantastic, fantastic lady. And she worked for a university, I think, and she was a professor. And I was showing her homes, and we were going back and forth on a couple with her family. And I kept asking her to make some decisions about looking at homes and when she'd be available. And basically, she told me that she'd no longer want to be accountable to me because she had to be accountable to everybody else, and she didn't need to be accountable to a real estate agent, and she didn't no longer want to work with me because I was too consistently calling her and trying to get her motivated to look at homes. But at least she told me no. I mean, at least she told me no, and that was great because I didn't have to waste my time any longer. Sometimes you'll find out that, you'll ask people and they won't be honest with you. Those are the worst. The ones that don't say no. The ones that want to say no, but won't say no. They're not saying no for the same reason you won't ask for the business because they don't want to hear someone just being disappointed with them or the fear of rejection or what happens when you say something like that. Some people don't even know because they never ask. So I think that a lot of real estate agents risk not following up enough. I mean, if they don't do it, they're not following up enough. So the risk is you're going to lose your client if you don't follow up. And if you feel like you're pestering someone too much, you have to change your mindset. A lot of these bold laws, I think, that in with Keller Williams are fantastic because they're totally true and they come from different places. I mean, Keller Williams didn't just come up with them all on their own. A lot of these are theories that work, and if you change the way you look at something, the things that you look at change. It's really important because if you look at calling someone once a week to find out what's going on because they told you they wanted to look at real estate, but you're afraid to call them because you feel like you're pestering them, you got to look at it as following up, not that you're pestering them. Hey, would you like me to follow up with you next week? Yes, follow up with me next week. Go ahead, give them a call. But you have to be okay with the rejection piece. Even in a transaction, sometimes you'll have people that, let's say a seller or a buyer that's not communicating with you and you're worried because maybe something's not right and you haven't heard from the finance guy and you're kind of worried like, oh, maybe if I just don't call, it'll all go away. Well, that deal is going to either fund or not fund. It's going to close or not close, but you need to be the one that's on top of your business, the one that knows the answers first. So with prospecting, you need to be able to ask, hey, have you thought about selling or investing in real estate lately? Are you thinking about doing something anytime soon? Someone says, no, don't call me, stop bothering me. Hey, at least they're off the list. For goodness sakes, for all the people you've got to call, at least you know they're off the list. At least for now, you can give them a call in 6 months. Maybe something's changed. You never know. So it's really the challenge itself for rejection. It can be an advantage for most agents are not willing to push through the long days of rejection. Develop a kind of an idea in your head that gives you a lot of attaboys. Applaud yourself for the effort you're putting in, that you did a good job. I mean, if you looked at it and you said, you know what, I called 25 people today, and 24 of them told me no, take a hike, but I got one new client. You won that day. And I mean, you sell real estate for a living. You might as well ask as many people as possible if you could help them out. And sometimes you just never know how it may turn out. But one person is worth at least 2 more referrals. So if you play the long game and you get one person out of 20 that says yes, they're going to be able to give you a referral if you do a good job. Really, really important. And I mean, obviously, if you don't develop that kind of thick skin mentality, this business will walk all over you. People tell you what to do. Other agents will walk all over you. I had one agent tell me the other day in a transaction, we were looking at some terms and schedules for inspections and so forth. And she used the word tighten up. She says, you think you could tighten that up a little bit? Move it from 17 to 12 or, whatever it was. And I thought, tighten up, that's an interesting term. I took it kind of negatively. And I said, we'll work together to make it happen. But, I don't work for you. I work for my client. I want to get that straight. When you have thick skin in this business and you're talked to or treated in an improper way or a way that, makes people think they can walk all over you, they will. If you don't and you don't accept that, they won't. People say, no, I don't want to sell real estate. Well, I know you don't, but there's someone right now that you know of that could use my help. That's the way you handle people in their rejection. That's the way you get a referral from somebody. That's the way they feel comfortable in saying, oh boy, if I give this guy a referral, he'll leave me alone. That's the real moneymaker right there. So just continue knowing that if the more rejections you get, the more successes you'll have, because it means you're hitting enough people in your daily routine. Number 6, you need to figure out people, sales, and psychology. So as a real estate agent, you're running a business focused around people and not just people going through their normal day. You're dealing with people in high stress situations, people on emotional roller coasters. Even if you think you have great people skills, you'll need to learn more. In real estate, you're dealing with delicate situations, and you need to be firm and soft, nice, persuasive, fast yet slow, and detailed yet creative. I'm going to take myself as an example. When I got out of college many years ago, when the dinosaurs ruled the earth, I basically, people said, "What are you getting into?" And I said, "Oh, I'm probably getting into sales." Didn't know quite what I was going to do. And they're like, "Oh my God, you're a people person. You'll be fine." I got it. I had a niche for people and things like that, but I didn't know the particulars. I wasn't a skilled person at my job. And it took years to learn the psychology of sales, understanding rejection, understanding people and how to use it effectively to make sure that at least I got the answer no or yes. Um, you have to figure people out, and sometimes that's harder to do than most. And sometimes there's business you don't want. Let's say you got to figure people out, and you get referred somebody, and you figure this person out, and you figure I don't want to do business with that person. There is a time when you have really done yourself a service. You've mastered your craft. You've worked out the details of figuring people out, and you know from the first 10 minutes with this person that you couldn't work with this person, nor could you be effectively um, doing your job if you worked with them because of whatever reason you know. So the sooner you learn to understand people, you'll understand the business that you don't want. And that's a funny question, or excuse me, funny challenge when you're thinking about the fact that if you're just starting out. What do you mean business I don't want? Are you kidding me? I'll take any business anyone throws at me. Well, if you ever spent time in a car with somebody or showing people property and drove over a long period of time and put a lot of miles on your car and came up with absolutely nothing, you'll know that there's business you don't want and there's people you don't want to work with. And you better figure those people out faster than you can right now because you don't want to work with those people. They'll run you ragged, run you dry, buy nothing. You won't be helping them. I don't even know what you'll be doing with them, but you'll realize that you don't want to work with people like that. And you'd be happy to recommend other people to them for them to work with them, but you realize the people you don't want to do business with. You're going to meet people all walks of life. You're going to meet all of them. And you have to be able to help them through this process. And you have to be able to help them, the ones you choose to help, right? Through the process and the journey that you're going to have with them. And it is a journey. I mean, you're going to be with them for the duration of the time you start looking at property to the time the transaction closes. And then over the life of their life and your life, you're going to be contacting them, asking for referrals on a regular basis. So you've got to help them through all that and continue to understand them over time. Because when you first met them and you sold them their first house to the time they retired, they've changed. They've had experiences. They've had life experiences, life altering experiences. They've gotten sick. They've had weddings. They've had grandkids. They've had babies. They've purchased rental property. They've done all sorts of things. They've refinanced 5 times. They've lived life. So you have to be able to figure out the people to do the sales and understand the psychology of the process and who you're helping, why you're helping them, and what makes sense for them. Because every single one of your clients is going to be different. And you have to be busy asking questions. I always told my kids, if you're not asking questions, you're not doing your job. And the best way to understand people is to ask questions. Ask questions about, like, for example, what would be a good question for a seller? You sit down with a seller and they say, we want to sell our house. And usually most agents, first thing goes through is, shit, this is worth 2.5 million, 3%. I got the gross number in my head. I can make a lot of money. Yeah, that's, it's just natural, right? The first question out of your mouth should be, well, why are you thinking about selling? Have you thought about where you're going to move to? How long have you lived in this house? Those are questions you have to ask to understand who they are and where they're coming from. But it also sets up to where you can have a listing presentation that makes sense to them, that meets their needs, that doesn't, that fits what they're looking for. Because, you've got a lot of knowledge, you've got a lot of experience behind you with the brokerage that you're at, with the people around you. You could tell them all sorts of neat stuff. You can tell them about how many days on the market. You can tell them on average price per square foot. You can tell them about all the great things you're going to do to get their home on the market and sold quickly. You can tell them about the great escrow people you work with, all the title insurance people. You can tell them about the pitfalls of not pricing it too high and too low. You've got all sorts of data. You've just come off a great educational Ignite class and you're ready to go. But if you're not asking questions to them about why they're moving and what's going on, you're not asking questions to understand the people that you're in front of, then you're not doing a good job of understanding people and the psychology of the sale that you're trying to make, trying to help them out. Very, very important that you ask those questions. A lot of times at my listing presentations, I send a pre-package the day before so they can look at the what I call the dog and pony show, the bells and whistles of everything that we do and how we get their home on market, and it's very self-explanatory. When I show up, I have the comparable sales and I have a pad of paper and a pen because I'm going to be asking questions. Now, you can have a list of questions already prepared and go over those with them. That's always a good idea if you're first starting out. But once you really get good at this job, you won't need to write the questions down prior to getting there. It'll be just natural for you. You'll have to write down the answers, obviously, but you got to be asking the questions to understand the people. I think that you have to pay attention to the element of emotion in this job, especially in the residential portion of this job, because there's so much emotion involved in someone selling their home. It's absolutely insane because people are attached to their home in more ways than you could possibly understand. And because they're different than you and I. We look at homes a lot of times as commodities. And I got to sell, I got 29 units I want to sell this year. And, that's kind of how we look at things. They're attached to their home because the tree in the backyard has sentimental value. The cement where they put their kids' their initials in the cement when they built the backyard. There's so much emotion that goes into that. You have to be able to understand them because you too lived in a house when you grew up. You too may own a home. And I think it's really important that you understand the emotion behind it. You understand the people that you're dealing with. It's really, really important. And the challenge here is that if you don't figure people out, it comes across that way to them. And they won't work with you. They'll feel uncomfortable. There'll be something they can't put their finger on, but they won't do business with you. So you need to figure them out, and you got to be able to handle the emotion because sometimes people scream and yell at you. I mean, the other day I had a client on the sell side. So this was the listing agent's client text me in a rage, and really I understood where he was coming from, even though it was a personal attack. When I got him on the phone, it was a whole different story, but the text was pretty outrageous. But I understand where he was coming from. I understand that we weren't closing on time and he was upset about the communication. I understand all of that. So I understand I've been there before and I've had clients in the same position. So I understand how he felt. A lot of my clients have felt the same way and I was there for him, but I understood the emotion behind it. And the words weren't as hurtful because I've got thick skin and understand. But I did ask him a question when we got on the phone. And I said, Are you aware that the information that you gave me in your text was inaccurate? He said, No, I didn't understand that. Would you like me to explain what I see in your text versus what you said so you get a better understanding of what's going on? Yes, I would. That'd be very helpful. So you have to be able to handle the emotion, the psychology, and the sales and get to know those people. I think it's very, very important. Very important. So Number 7, it goes along the lines about expectations. And it's going to take probably a minimum of about 3 years to see results. Fast results in real estate, very rare. Selling 10 homes in your first year doesn't happen very often. And when it does, this doesn't guarantee that you'll improve in the second year. And you need to be prepared for consistency for 3 years before you see results. So you do the math. Let's say you give yourself 5 days a week. You work 4 to 5 hours a day prospecting. How many days in a year? I mean, how many days is that? How many hours is that in 3 years? That's a lot of hours. It's a lot of work. So the idea that you're going to have free time in the next 3 years, you're going to have to change that paradigm. This isn't 3 years of going through the motions. This isn't 3 years of lease payments on your BMW or your sports car or whatever you like to drive. It's 3 years of hard work, dedication, and getting out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. And it goes back to identity. You know, I mean, if it takes 3 years to see results, this is about identity. The sooner you know yourself better and you're honest with yourself about who you are and what you want, the faster the 3 years will go by, or the faster maybe you can get that down to 2 years. Real estate is, in most cases, the effort that you put in today will pay off in about 90 days. And this cycle of kind of planting and growing things in business, you know, when we look at real estate come September, real estate really sells all year round. It really does. I mean, there's some conflicting opinions about that. There's some heavier times, slower times, but come September, whatever you start doing in September is going to pay off in the new year. That's when you start thinking about the next year and your marketing efforts, setting your goals, what they look like. You know, looking back on 2020 so far, when I was in 2019, obviously all of those ideas are out the door, right? So you never know what's going to happen, but it's going to take you 3 years minimum to see results and consistently see results. And you need to be willing to put the long-term effort in order to see your real estate business take off. You got to be in the game doing what you got to do depending on what goals you are. I mean, if you've got goals, expectations to sell two a year, and you've got some other income, you got some other things going on, or whatever it may be. I mean, whatever your goals are. But if you want to be in this business to make the money, create more free time, to do the things that this business kind of sells itself to, then you've got to put in the hard work. You've got to put in the hard work, and you don't know where you're going to find yourself in 3 years, because you could be starting out with residential condominiums that you're real comfortable with because you're a president of your HOA in a condominium complex, so you're really good at it, and you think, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And 3 years from now, you're doing luxury real estate in Laguna Beach with a team of 5 people. I mean, that's how it evolves. When you're in the game doing it, opportunity comes your way. And you've got to be able to move with it. You've got to be able to understand it, the people, the sales, the psychology of what you're doing. And you got to surround yourself with really good people. You got to work fast, but stay consistent. It's really, really important. Most real estate agents will begin with lots of energy and excitement and hit the ground running. And then this will fall off a cliff at some point. It'll just dissipate and disappear because you're doing 9 out of 10, no's per day, and you get that 1 per day, and you're in your office by yourself on the phone, talking to people that you maybe don't like. When you are not hearing no over and over and over again, then basically you need to buckle down and work smarter, not harder, smarter. And I really mean that because when you're looking at making, let's say, the 3-year work really well for you, let's say 3 years to get this thing up and going to where you're bringing home the money that you're looking for, you really got to settle down and make it happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, my personal story is that I was one of these people, and the reason that I'm even teaching this today is because I was one of those people that had expectations about real estate, about money coming easy, that my sphere of people would be really something to do easily. And I can tell you that it takes a long time. And if you're not focused, if you don't have a plan, it's not going to happen. That's why I came to Keller Williams. I mean, honestly, that's why I did. They had a plan. I sat down. I understood that I needed over 2,000 people in my database that I was communicating to many, many times a year. And if I only had a certain number below a certain number, I would basically fail at this business. And I was sitting having coffee with a team leader, and he said, how many people do you have in your database? And I go, 250. He says, yeah, you need to get started. And I had been selling real estate for 4 or 5 years at that point. So you need to buckle down and really understand who you are in order to make this business work. And I think the challenges that you face are no different than anyone you ever see in this business and the ones that they've faced. They're very, very common. They happen to all of us. They happen every day. They're a challenge every day. And it's really, really important that you schedule enough hours to work to be successful, that you're not overburdened by other things that you schedule in your life, that this takes priority in order for you to be successful and work smarter. Ask the right questions, understand the people that you're with, understand the sales and psychology. Make sure you get some good education, whether it be with Keller Williams or outside with a coach or even a coach within Keller Williams. Just make sure that you're getting what you need to be successful, and reach out to the people around you, because you're not alone in this business. I think if you push through, especially in harder times, you'll find that you'll make money when you thought you couldn't do it, especially now, when even in times like we have now, people are making a lot of money right now because they're working hard and things are working to their advantage, and they're taking advantage of those opportunities. So I think there's no guarantee about success in real estate, and you're not guaranteed, but with 3 years of hard work, dedication, you should start to see some results. It's not easy, but if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it. So hopefully that was helpful. I know it's kind of a one-sided thing. I'm talking a lot, so I thought I'd ask if anyone had any questions or challenges right now. I'd take those questions. If not, if I'm the only person left, I could ask myself a question. But any questions out there?
No questions so far. But like I said, there is a delay, so let's give them a couple of minutes, about a minute before we discredit them. And you do have people watching. You're not talking to yourself.
All right. That's super.
No, I don't see any questions. No, I don't see any questions, Jason.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you very much. And I don't know what to say. Next month, we'll have another What's All the Hype opportunity. If anyone has any suggestions about what they'd like to hear, let us all know, and I'll be happy to see everybody back next month.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
The broadcast of Facebook Live has stopped.